Today, I want to discuss with you what's coming next for the Ethereum network, the second largest blockchain in the world. Let's get started. Basically, what the Ethereum network is doing right now at this present moment is launching the Beacon chain. The actual launching event happened on the December 1st, actually a week ago. And this was the moment when the new blockchain for the Ethereum network is ready to start working. But actually, is this really a final leap from the old network to the new network, or it is just the beginning? Actually, it's more like just the beginning, because all the transactions, all the dApps, decentralized applications, all the DeFi projects, everything still runs on the old Ethereum, let's say 1.0 version, which is the current proof of work blockchain, which requires miners to validate each and every new block added to the network, almost the same way as the biggest network, Bitcoin, is doing the things. So Ethereum is quite similar at the present moment to the Bitcoin, but the future is very different in terms of this transition that is just starting, but it will most probably happen entirely in 1 or 2 years' time. So it is not something that's already happened, it is just starting, and it is the transition of the entire Ethereum network from the proof of work mechanism of validating transactions to the proof of stake mechanism. So what is the difference? In proof of work, we need computing power actually to validate the blocks. We need a lot of electricity, which is not good for the environment. And also these miners have to be equipped with heavy duty hardware. On the other hand, when we have the competitive proof of stake mechanism, which is already working in several different chains like Cardano, like Tezos, like Polkadot, and many others competing, so-called Ethereum killers, but actually they are not really Ethereum killers because their adoption is a little bit smaller than what Ethereum is. Everyone knows that the go-to place for smart contracts for decentralized applications is exactly the Ethereum ecosystem because of its very simple Solidity programming language and because of already built tons of development documentation which facilitates creating new decentralized applications. So Ethereum will always be kind of a king of this ecosystem, but now it is moving towards something more environmentally friendly, but most of all, something that most probably will be much more secure and much better organized in order to counterfeit, for example, 51% attacks. Why? Because in proof of work, in order to be able to deliver 51% attack, which is the biggest threat to the network security, you only need to have, how to say, not access, but to be able to control 51% of the network power in any given moment. So if you can get only for a few minutes the control of 51% of the network, for example, of Ethereum or Bitcoin at the moment, you will be able to double spend, to fake transactions, and actually to break the network. It never happened to Bitcoin, but it happened multiple times to many small blockchains. So it is a serious threat. And when Ethereum switched to proof of stake consensus mechanism, the 51% attack will require 51% of all the staked Ethereum, all the stake capital. So it's actually quite impossible. It's one thing to control the power for a few minutes. It's other thing to control many, many billions of dollars worth of Ethereum. So proof of stakes is much more secure in this respect, but it is difficult to implement. That's why we are starting it only this month. And it is in the white paper of Ethereum since 2016. It's something that all the Ethereum developers worked hard till this present moment. And now we already have the beacon chain. Everyone can move their Ethereum into a specific smart contract which run the beacon chain and stake his or her Ethereum. At the moment, we still have only probably 20,000 validators and probably around 1 million Ether staked. At this present moment, the yield that is produced by staking is about 18% per year. It's quite high, but it will not stay this way with the growing of the numbers of Ether staked. The more Ether will be staked on the beacon chain, the less will be the yield. But the expectation is that it will stay above 5-6% for at least a year. So this is what is the expectation. So it is worth considering moving your Ether if you already have Ether or if you are planning to purchase into validator pools, because in order to become a validator yourself, you need 32 Ethers. And this is quite a lot of capital, about $20,000 in the current price, but you will be able to stake with pools. So you will deliver your Ether to a staking pool and they will stake for yourself. This way, you will be able to capture this yield even without staking yourself. With that said, let's move to the even more interesting part of what Ether 2.0 will be. It will not only switch the proof of work to proof of stake mechanism, but it will also deliver significant scalability to the network. We all know that the congestion in Ethereum 1.0 is total nightmare at the moment. We are running close to the full capacity of the network to process transactions, and the transaction fee is quite high, about $3 to $7 per transactions, which is quite a lot for people who want to just send small transactions from one address to another. And this is expected to be fully solved once the fully functional Ethereum 2.0 network is working, but it will not happen until later next year or maybe 2022, I guess. We all just guess because nobody knows exactly when this will happen, but it is in process of development, and many hundreds of developers are working hardly every day toward this goal. So I'm quite positive to expect that this will happen very soon. And the scalability will be solved with two mechanisms. One of them is layer 2, which we already discussed in the previous video, you can check. And the other one is the so-called sharding mechanism. What does it mean, sharding, and what a shard is? Sharding mean, and it is quite popular term in the software world. It is simply mean partitioning a database into multiple smaller instances. And exactly in the first phase of transitioning to the sharding mechanism, Ethereum 1.0 switching to Ethereum 2.0 will use 64 shards. And each of these 64 shards will process 1/64 of the entire network. They will be interconnected, so they will exchange data, but the validators will run only on specific shards. This way, the huge volume of transactions will be split into 64 parts, eventually decreasing the congestion 64 times. And on top of these shards, we will have the so-called layer 2 and rollups, which actually the principle of the rollups application layer is to bundle multiple transactions and to process them into the network at the same time. And this is, at least in theory, proven to be able to scale many thousands of times the speed of Ethereum. So the speed will be greater, the transaction volume will also be greater, and the cost per transaction will significantly drop because we will no longer need miners. The miners will not disappear immediately, but actually their time is ticking off, and eventually at a moment of in the future, the miners will entirely disappear. The current plans is to not remove the current proof of work blockchain, but to implement it as one of the 64 shards. So we will have 63 proof of stake shards and one proof of work shards. This is quite a difficult process, and that's why the developers teams are postponing over and over again. But now it seems they are very close to make it happen. So when the proof of work blockchain become one of the shards, then we will validate the transactions not only from the current power intensive mining process, but also with much less power intensive validation. And the beacon chain, which is now the first element of this Ethereum 2.0 ecosystem, it will coordinate and keep track of everything that is happening below the basic beacon chain. All the transactions in the sharding layers will be coordinated with the beacon chain. So at the end, we will keep track of all the transactions in the network, and we will have one secure and very efficient blockchain. But as simple as it sounds, it's not simple at all to be produced, but at least in theory, there are no problems, no theoretical, no developmental problems to be solved. And it is just to make the code and to implement these things in reality. So we will have to wait and see if the ZK rollups, the so-called layer 2, will solve the scalability issue, or we will need sharding combined with ZK rollups, or we will need the final stage, which is the so-called 1.5 phase of Ethereum growth, which will deliver the docking. This is the term, the docking of the old proof of work blockchain to the new proof of stake beacon chain. But this will happen eventually in 1 or 2 years. And till this moment, all the staked Ether 2.0, which is already start to piling up, it will all be how to say locked down. It will be all confined, and it will not be possible to switch back to the Ethereum 1.0. So if you want to stake, keep in mind that you will not be able to access or to turn back your Ethereum 2.0. Eventually, however, maybe very soon, in a couple of months, the biggest exchanges, Coinbase, Binance, and so on, will start exchanging ETH 1.0 to ETH 2.0, and you will be able to exchange back and forth between these two substances of Ether, but they are quite different. So Ether 2.0 is something that is indestructible, and it will only reside in the new blockchain. It cannot be returned back to the old blockchain, and this is something to consider, because there are still unknowns when and how you will be able to sell this ETH 2.0. At the moment, you can't sell ETH 2.0, but eventually, very soon, it will become the mainstream ETH, and all the ETH will become ETH 2.0. Already, some big stakers like Vitalik Buterin himself, who deposited few 100,000 ETHs of his own ETH. Let me check exactly, but I'm not sure if I will be able to see. But now we we have close to 600,000 ETHs staked, and Celsius as well, one of my best wallets and custodians, also staked a lot of his ETH. So more and more people and participants will join this new network with the final goal to transition into fully functional and entirely proof of stake new network. So with with that said, I can move to my final words, and they are that this switch is very exciting because it will give more applications and more DeFi, decentralized finance projects, room to operate on top of Ethereum. At the moment, the current congestions and the current problems kind of congest and kind of prevent from future growth of the DeFi. That's my opinion, and I think the only way we can see a significant increase in the interest of this entire decentralized finance ecosystem is to be able to run much better version of the current ETH. And happily, we may see this happen even next year. Maybe close to the end of next year, we will see the phase. We are currently in the phase 0. Then next year, the phase 1, where the 64 shards will be operational, will be delivered. And finally, in 2022, maybe we will see the docking of the old proof of work blockchain with the ETH 2.0 proof of stake blockchain. And when these two blockchains merge, it's all over, and we will have the final solution to all the problems of the current proof of work mechanism. And there are many indications that all the proof of work blockchains at some point of time will move to proof of stake. Even Bitcoin, which is currently don't have any plans to move away from proof of work, people found a way to wrap, to put their Bitcoin inside Ethereum smart contract. So we have wrapped Bitcoin, which is kind of token residing on top of Ethereum. And we can see more and more of this happening in the future when the Ethereum network have much more benefits and much easier to transact higher volume. At this present moment, Ethereum can only process 15 transactions per second, which is very small amount compared even to the fiat money processors like Visa, which operate few hundreds or few thousands of transactions per second. But in the future, Ethereum 2.0, the theoretical limit will be much higher, eventually up to several hundred thousands of transactions per second. So it is so exciting, and I'm highly recommending you to read and learn more about this new transition. And if you are actually Ethereum enthusiast, you can already participate in this party. And I am going to deliver more educational content, and eventually somewhere next year I will share how I exactly will participate in Ethereum 2.0 network. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.